show from here.
Yeah, thank you, Anand. I will just introduce Ramesh. As most of you would know, Ramesh Srinivasan was a veteran in the field of both HR and IR, and he has been a coach and currently heading the learning and development for the Wheels India group. It was nice of him to agree to be the moderator. We had a conversation with Dharm Rakshit. I think he will talk about Dharm, though I know Dharm very well. It's better Ramesh talks about Dharm. And the topic is also very interesting for all of you, because Dharm is going to speak about the ER frame and productive organization. Over to you, Ramesh.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, sir. Dharm, nice meeting you, meeting you after our telecon. Yeah, just to give a context, I always believe like content is king, but context is kingdom. So unless we understand the kingdom, we will not be able to understand the king. So in that way, just to talk about the context, the company that we are going to, to some extent touch upon, and is the vision of that company is build the future of mobility, and it's #1 two-wheeler manufacturer in the world, and they have got presence in more than 40 countries across globe, and 10 crore satisfied customer, 9,000 customer touch points, and 40 years of service. Right from 1983, they are in consistent service and delivering superior products and services to customers. Just to know more about that, I would request Karmegam to play the video.
Imagine the future stood in front of you today. What if the sun powered your dreams? And going to the office enhanced your breathing experience? What if work was designed to refresh you? And recharging meant being plugged into the rhythms of nature? What if structures were built to set you free? Can you imagine if walls gave us oxygen and motorcycles were grown in the same lands as vegetables? What if the clouds became our partners? What if you could see the future? What if the meaning of a plant were the same as the meaning of a plant, and every visitor could have a cinematic experience? Imagine manufacturing looking at the betterment of mankind, and management needing no manhandling. What if factories gave back the water they used? What if corporate meant to cooperate with the planet? What if technology and environment became best friends? Can you imagine machines producing joy for families? And ambition meant giving others a way to reach somewhere. What if manufacturing was about making happiness? Hero Garden Factory. Manufacturing happiness.
That's great. Thanks, Karmegam. So this is the company, from where the speaker of the day is from. I am very much delighted to introduce Dharm Rakshit. Just to give a brief background, he has done his BA Honors History from Magad University, went on to do his post-graduation from Xavier Institute of Social Service, and then he is also certified by the Wharton School for Organizational Leadership program. work experience spanning over 28 years in different companies, Tata Steel, and he has also had a stint in Coca-Cola in India, Malaysia, and Bangladesh. He was working with Mondelez International, Godrej, L&T. Currently, he is plant HR head and lead employee relations of Hero Motocorp Limited. So without taking much time, I would leave the stage to Dharm to enlighten us on the various current contemporary trends in here. We talk about future of work, future of workplace, future of workforce, and how he could make a difference in the entire employee life cycle by using Ericsson life stages, and how the power balance dynamics work in a company, especially in manufacturing. So let's hear directly from horse's mouth. Over to you, Dharm.
Thanks, Ramesh. Thank you for inviting me for this very engaging and enriching session. And it is my first, to be very frank, first experience at this very platform. And when it was being showcased the entire Labourlaw journey, I was really enthused. So thank you, Mr. Dindayalan, for inviting me, and thank you, Ramesh, for agreeing for the moderating this session. At the same time, I am also pay my humble gratitude to all the participants. Saturday afternoon, such a cozy kind of things, and then you are making your presence felt here. And I'm finding all around 73 participants are here. So next 20 minutes, I will just try to cover my journey of the industrial relations or the employee relations, my learnings, and I will try to share along with how the future of the work is emerging out, and in the future of work, what should be the ER framework which will become agile to address the future of work. So with me, the Jayant is my one of the colleague who is here. I will request Jayant to make my presentation, and I will start doing the verbatim of the presentation. Jayant.
Good evening, everyone. So I am putting it in presentation mode. Okay.
Jayant, can put this thing on the presentation mode. It has come.
It's on the screen.
Jayant, you there?
It is on the screen.
Visible?
Yeah, visible. Jayant, put this thing on the presentation mode and start. So let's try to understand first what is the future of work, how the future of work is emerging out, because without understanding the future of the work and the workplace and the workforce, we won't be able to define the ER framework. So may I request Jan to put the AV on? Jan, put this thing on the sound is not there. Still the sound is not coming.
Change is inevitable. We have known change to be slow and steady at first, and then sudden. But what happens when disruption becomes the new normal? Some of us were prepared, and others were not. But all of us were caught off guard by the magnitude of change. All failure is failure to adapt. Adaptability and action create opportunity. The future of work is here, and it came early. Work is no longer confined to assigned physical spaces. Each organization is a mini city in itself, with solutions at each touchpoint, trying to maximize the creativity, imagination, and productivity of a workforce constantly pushing the limits of possibilities. Workforce built of diverse cultures, ways of working, and experiences, all coming together for a common goal. In a world where everything is connected and systems are reaching a state of perfection, the only thing that separates excellence from just good enough is you. You are the central point in one of the most transformational times in human history. Fueled by exponential digitization, mobilization, and automation, amplifying each other to create a perfect storm of change. But the question is, do you want to drive the change or be driven by it? If technology is the how of change, humans are the why. It is time to go beyond technology to reach human insights. To adapt is to move ahead, and to be more resilient, you must start engaging with what could be and not just what is. The opportunity is here to be fluid, to create not just functional environments, but adaptive, intuitive, and humanized ecosystems. The future of work is not about integrating systems. It is about integrating experiences, a chain of seamlessly linked positive encounters that transcend technology and equip your workforce with means to realize maximum potential. Future doesn't just happen. You make it happen. HC.
So it's just a glimpse of how the future of the work is developing or evolving. Because you saw this thing, one side the change is massive. Second kind of things you must have witnessed that everyone is connected and technology is driving the change. Just imagine this thing, around the 74 people are participating in this way discussion, and all are sitting not at a common place. They are sitting, they're scattered. I think some people might be watching somewhere from the other part of the country or some other part of the globe. And that is the power of the technology, because the technology is bringing everybody together. And in the event, what's happening? We are highly connected, but at the same time, we are highly disconnected too. But if you see this thing, that when this entire future of work is evolving around, I have tried to discuss on the 4 parameters: who, how, when, and where. And when you see this thing, very interesting kind of things, who does the work? Normally in the past, when this question used to come to us, who does the work? Normally the answer is like the thing, the human being is doing the work. But no, the answer is actually shifting out. Now, if you find this thing, not only the human beings are only working, but at the same time, you have the humanoids are also working, robots are also working along with you. And the constitution of the workforce is also changing, because previously we have the permanent workmen or the casual burly. Now you will see the gig workforce, crowdsourcing of the idea. Then someone is not willing to work for the full time, but there's a freelancer. So variety of the employment models are emerging out. How the work is being done? It is not only about the man and the machine, because traditionally, if you have realized this thing, man and the machine kind of a thing. No, now the artificial intelligence, robotics, humanoids, chatbots, variety of the things are actually enabling your work, how the work is being accomplished. And when and where work is being done, because entire structure has become the fluid. There is no fixed kind of a schedules like this thing 8 to 5 or something. This kind of shifts are like a thing, because I am just seeing that the shifts are happening from the online to the or the batch processing kind of things. How it is going to impact? It is impacting on the culture, space, and the augmentation. Culture, it is becoming because the parameters of cultures are completely in the flux, and it is changing very rapidly. So you have the challenge before each and every HR or the IR managers to how they are going to engage the workforce, align to the workforce to the common goals, and then after in the leveraging the digital skills, how they're actually translating the entire efforts into the final outcome. And if you see this thing, that how in what space it is being the work is being carried out. Space is now becoming unlimited, because imagine sometimes back when you would have a 3, 4, 5 years back, when you would have been conducting this very meeting, perhaps we would be sitting in a one room, and then after we were having the conversation and exchanging our idea. Today we are not sitting in the one common room, but we are sitting in the different parts, and but still the work is going on, and that is the beauty which is emerging out. Jen, next. So let's examine this thing that I have taken the slides from a Deloitte, and what they are telling us that there are the 7 disruptors which are actually disrupting your future of work, future of workplace, and the future of workforce. So you see this thing, one side the technology is everywhere, and when the technology is everywhere, I have no shame to say this thing, the implied lesson is also everywhere. Okay, and if you see this thing, a tsunami of data is coming, because previously we used to struggle to get couple of data. Now that you have the plenty of the data to actually reach out to a decision. Changing in the nature of the career. Previously, the people used to come lifetime employment, but it is not there. The average span has now limited to between the 2 to 3 years kind of things in one role or one company. That's why the people want to stay back. If you see this thing, that how who are the enablers to your for your output, automotive augmentative skills, then after artificial intelligence, cognitive and computing, robotics, humanoid, chatbots, what not, the kind of things which are emerging out. And gradually the workforce is shifting toward the contingent workforce. Example, like just see this thing, a guy is working with you, and that many of the occasions we are discussing about the moonlighting. A guy is working up with us after the 5 o'clock when the time is over from the office, and he goes and he starts his car, and then after he also starts the app of the Ola app, he may become the Ola driver also. How you are going to identify this thing, and that kind of the loosely connected kind of the workforce is emerging very rapidly. Jobs are vulnerable. There is no guarantee that today this job exists, tomorrow this job is going to exist, because machines are taking the jobs. And the speed is very high. Last but not least, diversity and the generational challenges are actually posing a huge challenge to the entire workforce. In our previous session, we realized that in the electric vehicle segment, more and more females are coming. So see this thing, how the configurations are changing. Previously, when we used to have the workforce, means we close our eyes and start imagining who is the workman. Normally, the male picture used to come, and male picture were dominating. But now the reality is completely different. Next. Jen, next. So I will just try to. You might be knowing this very story. There is a Yellowstone National Park in America. And what happened? It was a deer park, and it was spread in the acres of the land. And all of a sudden, after 10 years, the environmentalists started identifying that the vegetation is growing down, the area is becoming arid, the rainfall has become lesser and lesser. So then the variety of the researches happened, and the people start thinking what to do and what not to do. And then someone suggested to bring a wolf. And when the wolf came, after 5 years, the people found that the vegetation is becoming much and more better. The rainfall has increased, and the area is not arid. The wolf actually started managing the entire ecosystem, balancing the entire ecosystem, and wolf was the catalyst. To me, in the recent time, the COVID was a catalyst. What we were discussing about all the disruptors or the changes, the future of work, which could have taken the much time to actually to take the reality or to step up in the real form. Actually, the COVID has actually catalyzed the entire thing, and the speed has happened. And what we were expecting in the next 10 years, it has come right now. Next. So let's see this thing. There are two parts: the management and the employee, workman, or the unions. What are the expectations of the management from the employee, workman, or the union kind of things? Very simple kind of things. as a management, we look for the productivity, cost optimization, discipline, growth, leveraging the technology, work flexibility, quality, change mindset. These are the couple of the expectations from the workforce. And what the workforce in turn want from us: wage benefits, welfare measures, job security, fairness, employability, and share in prosperity. That's a very smaller expectation from that. If we are able to balance, then you are going towards the collaborative kind of the structure. If we are not able to manage this very balance, then it augments the conflict. It brings the conflict. And there is nothing like a thing when you find this thing when the little bit the imbalance happens, then you move toward the conflicting zone. But if you are able to create the balance between these two, and the alignment and the matching of expectations happens, then it creates a collaborative work environment. Jen, next. Now the interesting thing comes here. And most of the time we have been keep discussing union is good or bad. And here I want to make a pointer. Making a union or an association is their choice. But however, to create a situation to make a union or not to make a union is our choice. And that creation of the situation, when you actually manage this balance, then it is the finer point where we are creating the situation or not to creating a situation to make a union. Next. So let's see what are the factors shaping of the ER landscape. As I mentioned, that the changing workforce and the workplace profile. Why the workforce? Because the hybrid work systems are there, work from home systems are there, work from the anywhere systems are there, work from the workplace systems are there. And if you find the thing, many of the organizations have moved into the variety of the work structure within one organization, within one setup. Now, the people who are working from the workplace and the people who are working from the work from home, there are two different working conditions are happening. And when the two different employment conditions are there, the people are looking for the different kind of the benefits. And it is also, if we are not able to manage this kind of the balance, then it may create the conflict. If we are able to manage the balance, then it can create the collaboration. Same thing, the workforce profile is also changing. And workforce profile is now I mentioned in my previous slide, gig workforce, the platform workforce, contingent workforce, freelancer. So the workforce constitution is changing. Next, if you see this thing, the legislations, the judicial proclamations are also tuning up with the changing time. There was a time in the past when any kind of things, when you take a disciplinary action, but the onus upon the employer was to prove this thing, that the person had done some kind of the malified kind of things which were not required within the organization. But however, if you see this thing, that point of time, the courts normally used to come with the mindset that the employers are at the wrong foot. And whenever they find a very smaller kind of things, the back wage with reinstatement was a normal kind of the things. But today, if you see the new normal is what? Normally the courts are not talking about the reinstatement. They are maximum they're telling us to think, okay, compensate the person. This is the shift which is happening. Same thing, if you in the recent past we saw that the new labor codes are there. So the changing face of legislations are also to improve the economy, also to give the flexibility to both the employer as well as the employee to operate out within a particular framework. If you see this, that the issues are now becoming not only there was a time when the central trade unions were there, and they were a very, very powerful set there. But today you find the thing more and less, the issues are local, and the people want to discuss all the issue at the local level. The central trade unions over a period of time, I am finding they are losing their strength. So issues are becoming local, and at the same time, in the many of the multinationals, you find the thing, the issues are also becoming global, because they are the global organizations which are the I will not name as a trade union, but they are the pressure groups which are actually concerned about the workplace right policy, the human right actions, and many of such kind of things. And they actually play a vital role in actually controlling the work environment. So issues are becoming global, local, and the global also. If you see this, the psycho-socio and economic changes are happening rapidly. And in the tsunami of this kind of a changes, because we are living in either the VUCA world and we are transitioning to the Bani or the Tuna world, where the things are not becoming the volatile and the anxiety is there, but the brittle, non-linear kind of things are also there. And in that way circumstance, if you see this thing, the workman profile are completely a different profile. They are not, their aspirations are not the aspirations of the past when they used to come, they used to come for the livelihood. Now they are not coming for the livelihood, but they are coming for the improving their quality of life. If there was a 10-15 years back when you see this thing, the normal charter of demand used to commit like this one, that what should be the percentage of the employment of our wards in your entire workforce. But today they are not talking about. They are talking about that how you can enable our wards to become better and better in their life. And that is the expectation kind of things. I was recently, a few years back, I was just having some discussion with some of the union leaders, and it was a pleasant surprise for me that most of the union leaders' kids were either in the Infosys, TCS, IBM. They are placed outside of India in a very good positions. And that is the profiling change which is happening. At the same time, if you find this thing, the workmen are becoming much and more intelligent. They are also connected with the technology. Couple of the years back, when I was closing down one of the factory, and I found that the union created a Facebook page and LinkedIn page. And from there, they were trying to form the opinions. So if we feel this thing that we are on the LinkedIn as a professional, they are also on the LinkedIn. They're also using the social media for their own benefits. At the same time, we find that governance and corporate image and ethics are becoming much and more stronger, and everybody is concerned about, because any deviations may create the financial risk, the legal risk, as well as the reputational risk. Remember the story of the Maggie, Nestle. What happened? Overnight, the brand value has gone down. A couple of days back, when one of the investor company has written something about one of the Indian company which has just launched the IPO, and today the richest person of Asia is finding is shivering, because the one kind of the communication, how is going to disturb and understand this thing, if continuously the share price is falling down for that very industry, how it is going to impact your industrial relations. Because the profitability is not there as it used to have happened in the past. Automation and the ways of working are completely there. I will not touch upon because I have already discussed in the past. Last but not least, previously the workmen were used to manifest, or employee used to manifest their voice through the union. But today they have also got their identity and the voice through the social media. And that is the mega change which is happening. Given in this kind of the factors which is actually shaping our entire year landscape, let's take the next slide. Jent. So if you see this thing, these are a couple of the factors which are actually guiding the entire to how we should develop our frame for a year. Human rights becoming day by day stronger. Rules and regulations are becoming much and more transparent, because there was a time when the data was not being shared, data transparency was not there, data automation was not there. Today, if you see the thing, the PF authority knows this thing, how many employees you are paying for ESIC, and how much the factory inspector comes in, knows the thing, how many employees are actually working in your organization. If you see the pollution control board, they have the entire thing is connected with their server. So you cannot hide any kind of things. It has become quite transparent. Many of the organizations, good organizations, which have the multiple operations outside of India, they have signed a global compact. The World Trade Organizations also putting a lot of the pressures upon you. There was a time when India was one of the most the biggest nation in producing the carpet. Today, carpet industry doesn't stay in India because they were deploying the child labors. So, I was working with the Coca-Cola, and we have signed the UN Global Compact, and if we have to supply to the McDonald's, we have to be to supply the similar kind of the organization. There used to have an audit, and if we are not following the right work practices, we were not supposed to supply the material to that the vendor organizations. So those kind of your supplier organizations are also putting a lot of the controls upon it. So if you see this thing now, I'm just trying to shorten the entire things, and at the same time, the stakeholders who are putting the money into your organization, they also want to have a better value propositions for them. These are a couple of the pointers upon which we can develop our frame for the year. Next slide. So how we are going to develop our year roadmap? First of all, what is your IR philosophy? And why I'm telling you this thing? Because many of the organizations are still in the state of confusion to feel this thing, whether the unions are good or bad. Some of the organizations I have seen this thing, for example, the Asian Paints, if you see this thing, when they create a factory, essentially they also make the union office. Because they understand, they assume that the union is a reality. In the history of the Tata Steel, more than the 130 years, if you go there and you find the thing, there is not a single event of the conflict between the union and management. But we have the history of the conflict with many of the other organizations. We know that the data is there, that many of the organizations have actually died much before its age due to the conflict. So first of all, define your IR philosophy. And to be very frank, I have seen in my entire career, only Nestle is the organization which actually put their IR philosophy on the internet. Then next is important, like the thing, when you have defined your IR philosophy, identify which state of your evolution stage of your workforce is. Because why it is important? Because every stage, as per the Ericsson life stage model, if you see the thing, their expectations and their values are completely different. And once we understand the expectations and the values, it becomes easier for us to manage the expectation, to align their thought process with the company philosophy. Next is to understand the long-term and short-term vision of the organizations, and try to align your ER practices with the long-term and the short-term visions of the company. Because when your strong linkages are there, the chances of developing a very healthy and the productive and the progressive employee relation is very high. Most of the time, I have seen this thing in my career, that there is no transparency of the ER processes, there is inconsistency in the ER processes, and that lead to the conflict, or that lead to the confrontations. So make your ER policy clear, transparent, not in a very complex languages. Make it, if it is possible, communicate it transparently to the people, and do not put any kind of the ambiguity in your ER processes. And last but not least, define your communication strategy, whom you are making this by communication, what and when. Next slide. So this is the academics. I'm not just taking a pause here. You may read the entire kind of things, and here we can understand the thing that what stages of your people are. Suppose that if your workforce is in the age group of the 36 to 55, normally they find it in the middle stagehood, but the psychological issues are like the thing, stagnations. They are the divided labor, shared households, and what the virtue they want to have, the care and how actually you can associated vices are there, solitude and guidance, and then after you can develop your entire strategy. What can be the expectations? So for example, 36 to 55, when they have the family, they have the kids, the kids are going to schools, they have the higher investment which is going in the three kind of things, study of their wards. They also want to make their houses, and when they are reaching to the age of the 50 to 55, they are a little bit concerned about their retirement, and they're also concerned about the marriages of their kids. So if you define in which state you are, make your all the ER policies aligned to this kind of the emerging needs of your workforce. Next. So there is a ER grid is like a thing, and you see this thing how the union strength and the management strength. If both strengths are low, larger possibility are the high vulnerability of the regular conflict. And when both are very high, so there is no power based concentration is happening. Rather, power balance is there, and that it leads to the productive and progressive industrialization. But in case the management strength is very high, union strength is very low, it creates the exploitative way of working. And when the union strength is very high and the management is low, you will find this thing normally the regressive relationship with low morale of the employees. So that's the great. You can also use it to understand where your organization is, where you want to take it, what kind of your workforce emerging out, and you can balance the power within your organizations. Next. So there are certain shifts, and I think these shifts, if we are able to acknowledge and appreciate it, that is going to helpful to everyone to create a better practice. Normally, if you see this thing, the employee relations, we are historic and apprehensive. Every time we start taking the examples from the past, and that's why this becomes the region of doing or not doing any kind of a thing. The shift should be the futuristic and linear, because the workforce is changing, the workplace has changed, the way of work has changed. Okay, the historical aspect and always remaining apprehensive is not going to helpful to any of the stakeholders. Normally, here I have seen, this is my experience, we are always reactive, we are not responsive. So let's become the proactive and the progressive and start responding, not to react. If I have seen very interesting, and I'm just Mr. Ramesh, if you permit me, I will just give you a very interesting kind of the example of my own journey. Once I was having a discussion with a very strong union, and that was affiliated to the very central trade union. They're very, very strong and valiant also. They have submitted a charter of demand, and after the couple of rounds of discussion, I told them, okay, I'm just in agreement with all your demands. And the moment I told that I am going to exceed all your demands, they got up. Sorry, there is something fishy. Oh, boss, you have given all the demands. Now I'm accepting all the things. No, let me just visit our entire demands. Because the entire thing is based upon the mistrust. And as long as the entire mistrust will be there, you will have always the non-alignment. So move from the trust or the mistrust story to shared and collaborative. Create a shared vision. There's a famous story while working with the Tata Steel. Once someone went to the union went to Rishi Modi and submitted the charter of demand. And while Rishi Modi was actually crossing on the veranda along with the CHRO, and then after the union submitted this charter of demand, and we want that you should discuss the charter of demand. And Rishi Modi just read it and tear it apart and thrown in the dustbin. The union became very angry. What you are doing? And then when you were asking for 1 rupee, how much I am going to give it to you? You do not know how to make the charter of demand. And then he asked his then CHRO, please teach them how to make the charter of demand. Okay, that is also very, very authoritative way of dealing the entire cargo. But I feel this thing, if the organization is creating the wealth, they have right to share the wealth. because the wealth is being created through them. So they have the equal right to share the wealth. And the moment we start having that kind of the philosophy, our address to situation would be completely to be different. Normally, I have seen this thing in the IR, we keep doing the power balancing. And very interestingly, we find this thing, if the plant HR head is sitting here, the union president will just sit opposite to him. And that's where we create the kind of like that they become a shadow cabinet. Avoid doing this thing. Rather make the like thing there's no power balancing. Make them empowered. Normally, from the management side, it is always understood they're not the partner of growth, but they are actually pulling us down. Because they do not understand the realities of the factories. They do not really understand the realities of the organization. But how many times we have actually taught them to understand the balance sheet? How many times we have just gone and very transparently shared what is the health of the company? How many times actually we go and tell this thing, boss, what is the quality and what is the customer voice about your product? And the day when we start doing the thing, my gut feel is this thing, they will become the growth engines. In the IR, interesting kind of things, always grapevine communications. The communication is only limited to the fuse. When it is impacting to all the stakeholders, why not for everyone? Then we try to manage the whole lot of things through the fuse, where the unions are there, through the unions, where the unions are not there, through the opinion makers. When they are going to be the receiver of the entire things, why not to have expand network of our communications? Why to manage through a few? And the ER shifts, when it starts happening, you will find the thing, the productive and the progressive employee relations framework emerges out when actually something has to be done in the mind and something has to be done on the realities. Next. So now I am almost through to my presentation, and this is the time to take the feedback about me, because almost I think, Ramesh, how much time I have taken? Around the 15-20 minutes must have taken.
Yeah, you're on time, Dharm. That's fine, absolutely fine.
Yeah. So normally what we do, what I do when I conduct a session, so I request the online the feedback, okay, and Jayant will actually run this very survey. So I request all the participants to use this very either the Menti, open the Menticom, okay, or you can use this very code, the QR code, and then after you will find this thing, you will go there. There are a couple of the questions will come. You have to give the answers of those very questions, and the results will be quite visible to you guys right now here. So Jayant, are you ready for this very survey?
Yeah, already no, he has posted it, and I also done it. I also given my feedback.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So Jayant, can you just remove this slide and bring to that very screen there so people can see what's actually happening? Remove this way slide, show your that way slide.
So Dharm, can we also have a few Q&A, because I know
sure, sure.
people are very keen.
That was the idea. Okay.
Great. That's
so
great.
When the people are actually taking this very survey, at the same time, you can go ahead.
Yeah, what I would do is I would now request all the participants to post their questions in the chat box, and we will try to post it to Dharm, and we'll try to answer it. In the meantime, I got only one question, Dharm. It was an excellent presentation, and see, with more than 2.5 decades of experience in plant HR, corporate HR, and now in L&D, what my personal experience says is my grounding in HR happened during my stint in plant. When I started discussing with the union, when I started negotiating with them, when I started handling contract labor, when I started handling plant admin, I was getting more grounded. And whatever growth that I had, I would say it's all attributed to plant HR stint that I had. nowadays, somehow I find like even when I interview people, now I am part of a school where I teach students. Somehow I feel like the inclination towards taking up a plant HR role is not much. People would aspire for corporate HR role, and somehow they get a notion like they can come to top without being in plant HR, especially in manufacturing. It could be okay for other industries, but especially in manufacturing. So what would be your advice and insights, Dharm, on this?
So Ramesh, a couple of things. Number one, the plant careers are not treated as the rewarding career. Because once you are at the corporate, you find this thing, your visibility is quite high. You learn the sophisticated kind of jargons. You are working with the leaders, and you are always thinking like if you think that my birth is increasing, and unfortunately, the corporate are recognizing those kind of the births also. But unfortunately, I have seen the thing. They are the icing on the cake, but if the cake is not there, icing has no meaning. Okay. But to the larger extent, I also believe that the people who are working in the plants, they also do not develop their capabilities. And they are very good in actually, they think that the managing of the workforce, managing the unions, opinion makers, that is their strength. And unfortunately, another thing what I find is the thing, most of the time, they have a very good story to share where they are the hero. They are the glorified stories. But those stories are not being supported through any kind of a data. Those stories are not very quantitative kind of the stories. They are very, very qualitative kind of the stories. And when we have those kind of a qualitative kind of the stories, for example, if you do the long-term settlements, but we never discuss about what is the science and arts of the long-term settlement. It's a story, something happens like that. Someone demanded 1 lakh rupees. I negotiated and closed within the 10,000 rupees. And that is my achievement. Someone will just ask how you have done this thing. Perhaps I don't have to support any argument how I have done this. Okay. So the HR guys who are working in the plants, they need to also understand and learn this very aspect, how they are going to create their own ER dashboards, which measures the health of the industrial relations in your organizations. How you are going to actually to suffice the expectations of the workforce rather than becoming reactive. How you are responding to the situation. How you are creating moving from the historical and apprehensive when the business comes back to us and they want like putting the solution. We come and no, this is not possible, this is not possible, this is not possible. When we will actually take the front seat and start telling that, okay, let me drive the business for you. So example, and that was the biggest kind of example when it came in the COVID, during the COVID time. And when everybody was actually numb because they were not knowing this thing, how to handle this kind of situation. And then HR, most of the time, the plant HR guy have taken the call. They actually re-engineered the entire workplace. They were able to motivate the workforce, come back. They were actually conducting all that kind of the training and the development during that very period of time when the stricter lockdown was there. Okay, if you create that kind of the storage, and those stories become much and more visual, then the people start taking pride to work at the plant. Hope I have answered your question, Ramesh.
Yeah, yes, very much. Yeah. So one is the passion, and second is the understanding of importance of working in a plant.
Yeah.
The learning that you get sitting for a negotiation with the union, and sitting with the contract labor and saying like how it has to be done in a cost-effective manner. Yes, that's great. So there is one question from Jignesh. He want to know like what is the biggest learning for IR professionals from incident of Maruti?
So Maruti incidents, we need to go into deeper of the Maruti incidents. Because you see the draconian way of working doesn't help anyone. Second kind of things, a culture which may be very good in that very context cannot be just control B and control C and control B, copy and paste. You cannot do this thing, bring the Japanese culture and retrofit into Indian kind of a culture. Similarly, if you see this thing, that the third aspect, be human, because the person who died, he was senior to me in my own institute from where I am, okay, and he was somewhere closely associated to my in-laws also. Although I have never met him in person, although post incidents I have met number of times with the family because I always participate in the Avnish Dev Memorial Lecture. But I always realized the thing that whether as a management, they were the human to understand the issues. And last but not least, being in working in the plant, we understand the chemistry and the infrasound of the plant. And my always very like thing, Avnish being such a seasoned kind of the guy, because post that incidents, couple of the people who were there, and they became later on, they become the part of my team too. Okay, and I always used to ask one question: could not you be able to understand that what's going to happen today? I remember one of the factories I was working on, that there's some kind of the violent incidences happened because the union was quite violent, and then they wanted to have a discussion with us, and I was always apprehending that their plan is something different. So I deployed the police first, and then we entered into the negotiations.
Right. Yep.
So while you were dealing with Jignesh, while you were dealing with a situation, understand the ground realities. Don't try to have a different culture just to retrofit, because every culture, every context are completely a different context. Understand the context, understand the culture, and be human. I have multiple times I have been in the situation where I could have been killed. But I found that I was by the very initial day of my career, when I was only 3 years old in the entire system. And there was a situation when already 2 managers have been assaulted, and I entered into the scene, and a large number of people rushed towards me, actually with all the kind of things with the intent to kill me. And then I found the thing, union made a ring fence around me. So if you develop that kind of trust, because I always felt that I have created an environment of trust, and the people were always feeling that I am very transparent, and I am a very genuine kind of the person. And if I am committing something, I will deliver the things to you. So your personal persona also matters.
Yeah, that's great. So the human aspect of it, as you rightly put, that is what would really help us, in your framework, you are telling about conflict and collaboration. So I feel like, that is what will help us to move from conflict to collaboration. Be human in your approach, see them as fellow human beings. They are not enemies.
Yeah, true.
That's great.
Because you start with the mistrust.
Yes.
You start taking that is the separate power center.
Exactly. And
this is power. This is the mindset is from both the sides. They also do not trust us. They are also treating us as an enemy. How the collaboration will happen?
Exactly. Correct. And as you rightly said, how far we are also taking initiative to educate them on various aspects, reading the balance sheet, understanding the labor legislation, why they should go to a third-party advocate to understand what is there in a clause in Standing Order Act or ID Act. Why can't they come to us? Why can't they look up to us and say like, okay, fine, let me go to my HR manager and try to understand what is there in that. That's fantastic. There is one more question from Sudhan Spadi, and he says, like, as per you, which skills will emerge in ER from 5 to 7 years from now? I think he's trying to ask, like, what are all the key skills?
First of all, understand your culture and the context. The more you understand the culture and context, you are a better ER person. Second, these are basic kind of things. Don't forget the labor laws. These are the Bible, Gita, and Quran for it. You need to understand what is the labor laws, what are the company policies. Third important factor, which are how you are communicating. Your communications should be very simple, very crisp, and very in that manner that people understand without any kind of the different meanings. Because I have seen this thing when you write any policy or the long-term settlements, Many times the people write something which they want to interpret the way they want to interpret, and that creates the problem. Don't make it ambiguous. Last but not least, because I was just going to back to the first question from Ramesh side. Okay, why don't it become the planned career becomes a rewarding career? Become analytical. Don't make the stories, because you have the glorified stories in which you are hero, and that doesn't matter for other side.
Yes, yes, yeah, fantastic. And Abdullah want to know what secret IR mantra would you like to give to newcomers for being a successful and effective PR pro?
Good question, Abdullah. First of all, understand where you are, what this organization stands for, and what are the form where in which stage your people are, and then try to understand what the engagement frameworks are available for them, and whether that engagement frameworks requires a repair or completely revamping. Suppose that your engagement frameworks was of that very day from where your factory started, when the people were in the age group of 18 to 25, their expectations were completely different. I remember when I joined my organization, first organization, and many of the investors were like me, and it always pained to me that why the PF is being directed, why not the cash in hand is getting increased. Today, after working for almost more than the 2 decades, I understand the importance of the PF. But any Gen Z will come, they will have the similar expectation. So define your engagement frameworks. Okay, give them a career. Because another point I just wanted to discuss, because say this thing, I joined as a management training. Today I have grown up in my social ladder also. I am being recognized by some designation outside of the in outside world. So my social reputation has gone up. My family social reputation has gone up. But what happens to a workman? They join as a workman, die as a workman. And when the social ladder, they are not growing up. So what they look for? Job security, better wage and benefits without doing anything. And then the common parlance comes like within 2 punch, 1 lunch. Okay. But the moment you start improving their capability, they start giving the career, make them more, not employment is not important, employability is more important. To treat them with the human being as a human, pay the respect to the dignity of labor. Then you will find the thing. Then they are a very different kind of the person.
Yeah, that's fine. See, couple of more questions. I will just put it all together. How to deal with conflict workers is what Sharad Desai would like to know, and Thirumurugan would like to know how you included productivity in your LTS.
All my long-term settlements, since my first settlement I did in 1997, 15th of May till the date, more than the 50 settlements I have done, and every settlement had the clear-cut clauses for the productivity kind of things. Because since the early days of my career, I have always thought that all the long-term settlement, all the ALTS has to be self-funded. Then after, I am going to make my organism viable in the going circumstance. For example, we are in the business of manufacturing motorcycle. And last settlement, I have done this thing at the 22,000. My consumer will not pay me the 22,000 rupees. They want my product at the lower cost. I will not go because I have increased the cost of living index has increased, or the GDP has increased. That's why I have increased the 22,000 rupees. That's why you give it to 22,000 rupees to me. It is not going to happen. So my cost of production is going to increase by every long-term settlement, by every increment cycle of the management. How we are going to make it to recoup the entire cost when we are working on the productivity improvement. That has to be integral part. If we are not doing this thing, then perhaps we are not doing justice with the organization, because the organization will have the limited capacity to absorb the cost for a certain period of time. Second question, I think Mr. Desai has asked, the conflict. Conflict would also always be there. And sometimes the conflict is also good, because everything in the collaboration, then you will not be the innovation, because it is not a disruption. The question, like you think, how you are changing the situation of conflict into leveraging for the benefit of the organization. That is important. So understand why there is a conflict. What is the reason of the conflict? Go into details of the conflict. You will be able to find out there are certain reasons that's why this conflict is happening. Now the question whether this conflict is controllable or non-controllable. Can we manage this very conflict, or we cannot manage this very conflict? Example, I guess I will just give you one example, a very interesting kind of example, and that perhaps will satisfy the concerns of many. In one of the organizations, I have done the long-term settlement. Okay. After the settlement, interestingly, what happened? The management told that to revisit the settlement, we have entered into the memorandum of understanding, and what we have offered, downgrade it. Okay. And it was a question of the ego, because someone wanted to do the settlement, and I have done the settlement. Okay. And the person was a senior superior to me. So, and he wanted to downgrade it by the 50 rupees only. And I told him, sorry, I will not do it. Perhaps it is better you have another one, he will do it. So I am moving out, they do it. But this is the commitment what I have made it. And with the consent of everyone, including you. And you know what happened? Next day, the union came to know, although this was only being discussed within the very small circle of the people. But somehow someone went and told this thing to union. And next the union came back to me and telling me, you are not going anywhere. We will be doing all the things what we have committed, but we don't want a single penny for the next 3 years. No increase. But you are not going anywhere. So when you stand for them also, when the conflict, if you find this thing, if they are what they are demanding, that is a justifiable demands, they are the genuine demands, stand for it. Another example, they were demanding for X, and I was doing a lot of the exercise of what is the basket of the essentials, the economics of economy of that very place, what is the cost of living index, and I found this thing, what their demands are there. That is the demand money delta is completely okay. But however, the management was telling, for example, just giving the hypothetical figure, they were suppose that they were demanding 7,000 rupees, and all the calculation was making like a thing 5,600 rupees will completely okay, which will neutralize it. But management was somewhere like the thing that we will not give more than the 5,000 rupees. I stood for them. And I proved that why the 5,600 rupees is required. There's a science. This is not just only an art. You just go negotiate. That is genuine demands, because if their kids are going to school, this is the tuition fee. This is the cost of living index of that very area. This is the medical kind of thing they must be incurring. And that is the kind of a thing money they want to have. So every time it is not something like the thing that opposing their demands are the right kind of thing. Understand what your conflicts are happening.
Fantastic, Dharm. I would like to conclude this with sharing of my own experience as to exactly what you said. When I was in the plant HR as a manager, when chairperson came for a get-together, my union wanted to talk to him regarding some demands. He said, like, you are most welcome to come and talk to me on anything else, no problem, about your welfare, ask about my welfare, tell about your welfare, how your family is doing, that's all fine. But anything to do with your demands, you come with your union leader. They said, sir, our union leader is here. And they showed the union leader. He said, no, Ramesh is your union leader. You bring him. I would like to discuss all these things along with him. So that is how, the chairperson saw the role of HR, plant HR. Like we should be representing workmen in all their just and genuine cause. It is not always, we and you. It could be ours on many occasions.
So Ramesh, you have rightly used the two words, just and the genuine.
Yes.
Both are very, very important.
Yes.
Because if the demands are just, we need to concede.
Exactly. That's great. With that great note, high note, I think we should wind up here. Thanks very much, Dharm, for sharing your success stories and knowledge to all of us. It was very enlightening, and definitely we look forward to being in touch with you. See, for all the information of all the participants, Dharm is very active in LinkedIn. Kindly get connected to him, and definitely he's going to share us a lot of much more insights through social media platform.
So thanks, Ramesh, for giving me this opportunity and having this very conversation, because all the questions which came from the participants, that has enhanced my insights too, because questions were quite interesting and insightful.
That shows your humility, Dharm. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. And thanks Mr. Dean,
participants. Yeah.
for giving this a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, Din sir, thank you very much. And of course, Anand Gopalan sir, if you are there, thank you very much. Thanks to all the participants for their engaging interactions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Dharm.
Ramesh, if you want that, you can circulate the